And now, coming to you live from Fanatics Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Billups, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey everybody, it's the Pop Culture Philosophers, coming to you live from the Huntsville Attic in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama, the Rocket City. I'm excited for tonight's episode. We're going to talking about sports, not, though, the Sports album by Huey Lewis, despite the fact that one of my favorite songs is I Want a New Drug. It's on that album, by the way. Go and check it if you don't believe me. Go Google it. So I'm excited to talk about sports. We're going to talk about our favorite sports films, some of our favorite athletes, some of our favorite athletes on film. I am John Hammertime Holshoe. Joining me, of course, Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Hey, everybody.
I'm super excited for the show, man. I'm not a big super sports guy. There's a couple sports I do like. And I thought, well, this isn't going to be an exciting episode. I was wrong. Go back and looking at some of my favorite sports movies. That happens a lot with some of the things you come up with, like, hey, we should do this for an episode. I'm like, I don't know. And then I start looking into it, and you're right. When you're right, you're right.
We got to do the Sports Movies podcast.
Yes. So I think it's going to be a good episode.
I think, and it's crazy to me that you said that you're not a sports guy, John, because to me, you are a sports guy. Like, me and you have talked about sports. We've talked about football. We've talked about baseball. We've talked about basketball and hockey. I know you're not as much of a basketball guy, but you've watched basketball games with me, and you were like, you know what?
Yeah.
There's something to this game.
Yeah, the playoffs and March Madness.
Yeah, and I'm also a big Olympics guy. I know you like watching some of the Olympics as
well. I
well.
love fencing.
And you love racing.
Yeah, I love auto racing.
Yeah, so, I'm
Maybe
excited.
I'm a sports guy.
I'm excited to talk about some of this stuff. And no matter, and here's the thing, John, right? Even people I know that are not sports people, for instance, Martin Scorsese.
Did you just do air quotes and nobody can,
yeah.
nobody can see?
Yeah, but you can see, right? Even Martin Scorsese is not a sports person, right? And he made Raging Bull.
That's true. And
people that are not sports fans love sports movies, right? And that's why we're talking about it, right?
Yeah. There's something you can relate to because they're compelling. There's going to be it's one of those things that's easy to transition to film.
Oh yeah.
Maybe be an underdog or whatever. So there's sports makes a good transition to film.
Yeah.
About famous people or whatever.
Or schlubs.
Yeah.
Speaking of schlubs, we've got with us tonight Drew Madsen.
What's going on, everybody?
We also have Mike, the Voice Matthews.
Hey, everybody.
And, Mike, and, a lot of people may not know this. A lot of people are new to the channel, new to the podcast, the website, and all that stuff. But, back in the day, this show kind of was, originally called the Smiler Show. And Mike, the Voice Matthews, there was the host. And one of our first ideas was sports movies. And it's taken this long, John. It's taken, 8, 9 years?
There's been several things that's taken a long time.
It's taken a while. Anyway, I'm very excited, John.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about, sports on the big screen, and not just movies, but like we said, athletes on film, and as well as some of our favorite teams. So I think the concept of bringing sports to the big screen can be compelling. They can bring something that some stories can't. So what to you? I'm gonna start with Drew. What to you makes a compelling sports movie, or why is sports so compelling? Why make a sports movie at all?
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition, the wide world of sports. You can put any sports story has typically any of those, and it's instant drama. No matter what, it could be any sport, MMA, boxing, baseball, anything, because most of these stories are inherently the hero's journey in them too. So no matter what, you have a basic story already being told, whether it's real life or fictional. And anything of that, you already have the drama from it being sports and athletic competition. Then you add a story to it, it can just get even better from there.
Okay. Mikey.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? Compelling. Why sports on a big screen? Why does it work so well? Why are we drawn to it?
Drew pretty much said it all right there. I mean, that's a pretty
there we go.
Answer.
End of episode. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back.
No, I was gonna say. Everybody loves the loser and wants to watch somebody come up and then watch the bad guy fail, and that's the good and evil of it. I mean, that's probably one of the easiest things that you can do in a sports movie.
Yeah. Robbie, why a sports movie? Why a sports podcast?
It's because we decided to, but basically, yeah, it's all the same stuff. I mean, first of all, they celebrate our favorite sports,
Oh, yeah.
You know, so people that like sports, they celebrate it, and they celebrate the good aspects and they celebrate the bad aspects. And like, there's good sports movies that like, you know, that make you feel inspired and stuff like that. And then there are sports movies that you're like, whoa, I don't like baseball anymore, right? You know, stuff like that. But they do inspire us. And like Drew was saying, they follow that hero's journey. They follow that simple, easy structure that most films that are successful follow. And a lot of, like, seriously, some of the greatest sports films out there have been some of the most successful films of all time. Rocky.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, they do that. And also, sometimes I really think that we enjoy sports films because they provide us into, like, a sneak peek into the realism of it. You know, like, I know, for instance, one of my favorite sports movies I love so much because it feels so real. And sometimes the best sports movies feel real. You know, even if it's not real, it feels real. Like Raging Bull, boxers will tell you that's not how boxing is, but it feels like boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess, too, people, that want to see more into the sport. I see that. You can get a behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know, in certain films.
Yeah, in certain films.
But
I'm
mostly,
saying,
I think they inspire us, man. And like, I think that's the biggest thing is they like Drew said, they follow that hero's journey. Like, better than anybody else. The underdog, the call to action, the wizard, that's the coach,
yeah.
you know, and then the battle up and the mountain, they climb it, and then they get there to the big final fight. And, of course, we'll talk a lot about this later on, right? But what about you, John? What makes them so compelling to you?
I think you're right. Either an interesting story or... Because I've definitely watched sports movies of something I'm not interested in. What's that movie I watched 100 times as a kid? The one with the figure skater and that guy who was a hockey player?
The Cutting Edge.
The Cutting Edge.
And I meant, like... Earlier today, me and Mike were talking. He was like, "Aren't there more Olympic sport like movies?" And then I couldn't think of it, but I thought of it before. I almost texted you, and I was like, "The Cutting Edge is an Olympics movie." There's got to be more than Cool Runnings, right?
Miracle.
No shit.
Well, you didn't mention.
No, you're right.
I was thinking more along the lines of like the summer.
Oh,
Olympics.
summer.
Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
That's what I do, and especially the underdog story I think is great because people who aren't necessarily athletic can be like, oh, this guy worked hard and got, more identifiable than the big jock who's naturally athletic or whatever. So, yeah, definitely.
You know, speaking of sports, let's just go around the table. What are your favorite? What is your favorite sport, and what's your favorite team from that sport, Mike?
I guess I'm going to go basketball on this one.
I found out today Mike played basketball.
Oh, good.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
He's a tall guy. I see that.
Yeah. I just thought Mike was a football player, and so I always think of people as one sport people. Not everybody can be Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders, you know? But Mike the Voice Matthews.
Football, basketball, baseball, swimming, diving, soccer.
I want to see you dive.
I
want to see you do some diving shit.
It's been a while.
Let's go to the natatorium or whatever.
Dodgeball, water polo.
They call it the aquatic center now, don't they? Anyway, Mike, what's your favorite sport's basketball?
I'd say basketball.
And your favorite team?
The Phoenix Suns.
Ooh.
They suck.
Suns out,
nowadays,
guns out.
But the Barkley days, you know?
The Barkley days was good. The Steve Nash
The
days
Nash
was
days.
good.
Didn't he beat Godzilla?
Yes.
He did.
There.
I mean,
in my book, yeah.
Championship or no? He beat Godzilla. So there you go. All right. What about you, Drew? Favorite sport and team from that sport?
The favorite sport is football. Probably an easy guess if you've ever seen a picture of me. Favorite team, New England Patriots.
Oh, the Patriots.
Have they ever won anything? These Patriots?
I've
never heard of
Who are they?
I didn't know sports at all until I moved to the South. Essentially, like I'd watch like the Super Bowl and every now and because everybody does.
Yeah,
and in the South, like football is much larger than what I was or what it was in Pennsylvania where I lived, and we had to I had to learn how to play it. So I just watched a ton of football just because I had to learn how to play the game. And the story of like Tom Brady, like nobody almost went undrafted. And like Bill Belichick knew it's like, yeah, we're just going to keep an extra quarterback because we can't lose this guy because
what college did he go to? Because I think it was a pretty good college.
I'm sure he is a Wolverine.
Oh,
Michigan.
Is he?
You know, there's not a lot of movies that have. I can't think of many movies that like feature the Patriots. But like, how do you think about football? And so, like, how do you think about movies? Do you think they've represented football correctly?
Yeah, I mean they've. a few of the movies have treated like the concept of a locker room really well, and some of them, like, I don't know if there's a complete show the positive and the negative aspects of the locker room. Like The Replacements, like that's a very fun movie. And then there's other things like Brian's song. You can have the positive like uplifting. It's like that's a big movie dealing about race relations. And then like there's Friday Night Lights. There's a lot of negative stuff in that movie. Or
but like Any Given
Kinda
Sunday.
same with-
Any Given Sunday. Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
the same. Friday Night Lights and Varsity Blues are
Varsity
almost
Blues.
the same.
Varsity Blues has the worst adults in any movie.
Yeah, they do.
The worst. Absolute worst.
Mike, I know you said that the Suns were your favorite basketball team. I don't know of many movies with the Suns, but what do you think about how basketball movies have portrayed the sport?
I mean, it's been pretty solid so far. It's the guy that's, kind of the Tom Brady story where it's just like, I'm on this team and I'm going to turn it around. And, it's,
Do you think
I just
Space
said-
Jam was the most realistic basketball movie? Like
Well, see-
closest to the sport?
The problem is I just got done, like when you said the mess, like where's everybody at? I was at the end of Hoosiers, so I wanted to rewatch that real quick. So
you were cramming.
And then
You were cramming.
well, we talked about it earlier, and I was
Yeah,
just
we did.
like-
We talked a lot about Hoosiers today. All right, John.
and I
Oh.
get that's kind of what it is. That you've got the coach that comes in, and the town doesn't like it, but that could be in anything. Like any player can come in any sport and turn it around. Any
yeah.
coach can come in. Like it's
part of the whole thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. John, what's your favorite sport and team from that sport? I think I know the answer.
I was going to say street hockey. No, baseball. I love baseball. And Detroit Tigers.
Oh yeah.
So, and they have made, so there are some Ty Cobb documentaries. There's a Ty Cobb film.
Yeah.
But the two that stand out in my mind are For the Love of the Game, Sam Raimi film with Kevin Costner. And then there's a film that was actually a made-for-TV film called Tiger Town, and it's actually got Roy Scheider in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? From Jaws.
From Jaws. And at the end of the movie,
Not the SNL guy.
after he wins the big game, he stops a shark in Detroit, in downtown Detroit.
In the frozen,
Yeah.
frozen
Was
river.
it
Great
Oliver
Lake.
Stone's Miami Sharks?
Yeah. So Detroit's been, I think, the very little they're showed on
Yeah.
film. It's
Okay.
positive light, but they're not in movies as much as, say, the Yankees.
Well, I'm right there with you, John. Baseball's my favorite sport. My favorite team is the Yankees. Most people know that. They're usually the villains in movies.
Yep.
There's things like Major League, for instance. The
In
Indians have
Major
to
League
beat.
2.
Yeah, it's always the Yankees are the villains, and that's fine. But there's also movies that really celebrate the legacy of the Yankees, like Pride of the Yankees, about Lou Gehrig, Gary Cooper in that film. A great film.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a back and forth, just like Drew was saying about football. Like the Yankees are kind of represented kind of evenly. The love and the hate are both equally represented. And I think baseball in general is represented very well in sports, John, don't you?
so the Yankees are the Patriots of MLB.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just over 100 years instead of 20.
Yeah. Yeah. We got longer.
Oh, they were the bad guys in For Love of the Game. Now that I remember. Remember that game he's playing, that big game is
No, I
the
really
Yankees.
don't like that movie.
Well, it's still the Yankees.
Yeah, okay. There you
It's
go.
Sam Raimi's best film.
Yeah,
That's not true.
But
That's
the
not
cool
true
thing,
at all.
the best thing about sports is they really have some of the most exceptional athletes. Obviously, are in sports.
Yeah. Well, I even take for granted,
that's my segue
yeah.
into your segment.
I mean, I was watching baseball the other day,
Sports
and you take for granted, unless there's a crazy play, how athletic these guys are in baseball, because baseball is not the most exciting. At times, I think it's exciting. I think people are some people attribute it to golf, and that's not true. But when you do see some crazy plays, especially shortstops and stuff, man, just the athleticism. I mean, there's a reason they're in the major leagues.
Web gems.
So I'm a big fan of athletes that make that transition to film, even if it's a small part. So I'm wondering who your favorite athletes are that have made it to film. Besides, I know everybody's going to say O.J. Simpson. Besides O.J. Simpson. Okay, we're going to cut O.J. out of this whole thing. So who are your favorite athletes
No, I'm not.
that have made it to film, even if it's just a bit part, that stand out in your mind, that are great on the big screen? Drew, what about? Is there any Patriots? Oh wait, I think Tom Brady's been on it.
Tom Brady has been the subject of a sexual assault in Ted 2. You've got Rob Gronkowski and random appearances like the Entourage movie.
Oh, he was in Family Guy too.
I knew you would bring up Family Guy.
He's great in that. That's a hilarious episode.
No, but the Patriots. Some of my other favorite athletes, and I mean, of course, Michael Jordan in Space Jam. Ray Allen and He Got Game. I mean his great soliloquy. It's like, I'm getting there when you. Oh, that's not. No. You're not supposed to read that. Look up the Ray Allen tweet. If you're,
That's a good movie.
no,
Don't look up the tweet.
Don't look. Don't look.
It might change a little bit.
No, don't look up. It's not from He Got Game. But no, that's a great movie. But you can find them. You can find Kareem. You can find.
Kareem in Airplane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just random appearances. Like, whenever I see one, Kevin Nash in John Wick is always just one that randomly, like, wow.
Yeah, I've always liked The Undertaker in Suburban Commando.
Yes.
Nash again in Punisher movie.
Yeah.
What about you, Robbie? What are some athletes that have appeared on the big screen?
Well, my first one would be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
What? He's been on film?
Yeah, believe it or not. Him and the other person I want to mention is from Predator as well. It's Carl Weathers.
Oh, Carl
He
Weathers.
played football for the Raiders. And for Michigan State, or was it some other team that I don't remember? Probably. He played in college, obviously, if he played in the NFL. Carl Weathers there. Jason Lee.
Skateboarder.
Jason Lee was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
A great skateboarder.
And I don't know if this really counts because not maybe an athlete per se, but someone definitely involved in the sport. Bob Uecker
Oh, yeah.
in Major League
Yeah, basically reprising the role.
as the announcer.
Yeah, as the announcer.
Yeah.
He's great. His commentary, first off, he just seems like a fantastic person, but he's just so funny, and he just makes the movie
Yeah.
even better. He just adds so much to it.
Absolutely. And who doesn't like, is it Brett Favre that's in There's Something About Mary?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
You can't not like him in that, though.
Yeah,
He's such a nice guy in that.
Yeah, right. And, of course, Babe Ruth playing Babe Ruth in Pride of the Yankees is pretty dope.
Is that cheating? Playing yourself?
Just a little bit.
What about you, Mike? Athletes on the big screen, ones that stand out, ones that you like.
To keep the Predator train rolling, we forgot to mention Jesse Ventura.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
No, I didn't forget.
Okay. You're saving that one for me?
Yeah, I was saving it for you.
You should go into politics.
The other one is Mike Ditka from Kicking and Screaming.
Yes, he's the
yeah.
coach. Yeah, dude. I was going to mention that because I think it's freaking Mike Ditka. It's freaking, is it a kids soccer team? Is that what it is? I'm trying to remember what.
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
kids
it's a youth
soccer.
soccer.
It's been a while since I've seen it with Will Ferrell, right?
Yeah.
But it's so great that he plays himself, and he's funny in it too,
It's
man.
Bad News Bears, but it's soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was going to add one of the greatest, not Tom Brady great, but,
Not Babe Ruth great.
well, no, it's football. It's Terry Bradshaw in Failure to
Babe
Launch.
Ruth was a great football player, too,
God. That movie, Matthew McConaughey, Dark Times.
Are you talking about We Are Marshall?
No.
What are we talking about? I just heard Matthew McConaughey in football. I'm
Terry
sorry.
Bradshaw was in Failure to Launch. Him and
Oh, I never
Sarah
saw that.
Jessica Parker
Yeah,
movie.
I never saw that.
Plays the dad.
Is that a sports movie?
It's not a sports movie, but it's a.
It's got Terry Bradshaw in it.
It's got
Okay.
Terry Bradshaw.
I
in
got
it.
Terry
What's the
Bradshaw.
one where he's the dad? They think he's the dad. And it's got Owen Wilson in it, and that one's pretty funny. Where they're okay. Anyway,
you. What?
he's in a bunch of Terry Bradshaw's in a bunch of stuff.
And real quick, one of my favorite cameos was Derek Jeter getting shot in the other guys.
He's only in it for like
right.
3
I never
seconds.
saw that. That's
And
hilarious.
that's a great movie. That Michael Keaton is so damn good in that. By the way, take the sidetrack. Michael Keaton steals the damn show.
Have we done a
Anytime.
Michael Keaton podcast?
We should do.
Yeah,
Michael
God.
Keaton should get his own podcast.
Why did you mention that?
It's just John.
Why did you mention that?
It's just John.
We're going to go for an hour and a half on Michael Keaton?
Yeah. So we're going to end the show
Mr.
here,
Mom.
and then we'll start the Keaton podcast right now. I'm going to throw mine out. Let's see. A bunch of them we've already mentioned, but Mike Tyson and the Hangover movies. That animated show, by the way, is hilarious with him. Mike Tyson Mysteries. I don't know if it's still on.
Yeah.
Funny as shit. Andre the Giant and The Princess Bride.
One of my favorite movies.
And then probably the greatest appearance of an athlete of all time would be Dan Marino in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Laces out, Dan.
Laces out, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, there's been a lot of great athletes on the big screen, and I'm sure we'll get many more, and I'm sure we left some out, so comment below once...
was Dan Marino also in Bad Boys?
Was
Man, I don't know, dude.
Way to derail the show.
I hate Bad Boys. Yeah, we're
We're
ready.
making a Bad Boys 3.
We're ready to end the segment.
Yeah.
Mike comes in. Hold on a second, guys. Let's talk about Bad Boys.
So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be talking about Michael Keaton movies. No, for real, we're going to talk more about sports, including our favorite performances in sports films. We'll be right back on Pop Culture Philosophers Sports. Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. We're talking about Roman Polanski's... No, we're talking about sports. People are like, what the fuck? Listening to
Roman Polanski.
No, we're talking about our...
This whole podcast about Chinatown.
It got dark. Real.
What about Gung Ho?
With Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Don't distract him.
No.
So like I said, we're talking about Michael Keaton movies.
We've lost everybody that's just tuning in.
Except Michael Keaton. If he's listening to the show, he's like, what? What's going to come up?
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan and Michael Keaton are listening.
We're talking about our favorite sports films and our performances in sports. We just talked about favorite athletes on the big screen. Now we're going to talk about a favorite performance in sports film by an actor or actress or actor or Michael Keaton.
No.
I'm actually going to start with Mike this time. Some of your favorite performances, ones that stand out in your mind as... in sports films. It doesn't have to be an athlete, it can be a coach, anything in a sports-centric film. Ones that stand out to you, your favorite.
Man, I just forgot the guy's name, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a great
You're talking
one.
about just Sylvester Stallone's role as yeah.
Yeah,
And
the whole
he's
thing.
great.
In every single... in that universe, he's good.
Yeah.
Even in the Creed movies. And in his...
Oh, yeah. I was happy to see him reprise the role, and I thought the Creed movie was great. Is that Michael B. Jordan?
Yes.
Talk about
Yeah.
athlete with a great athletic name.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Okay.
great, though. He was great. He was a great Johnny Storm. I'm getting sidetracking here.
Though I just found it. It's Randy the Ram from The Wrestler, the Mickey Rourke.
Oh, yeah, Mickey Rourke.
That's
The
a-
Wrestler.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
solid A for
Yeah.
performance
What a-
right there.
yeah,
That's
what a great
the type
film.
of performance that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Or this is what this is about, or am I wrong?
No, that's
Okay, just
that's
making
hard
sure.
to match. That's sort of like one of the, I think he's underrated as an actor, and he came out. That's like, his, hit out of the park.
And you meet some of those older wrestlers, and it's kind of like, oh, what? He pretty much nailed it. And then
the pain that they go through.
Everybody having to ice it up.
He was so upset and so beat up and so torn up that he decided to attack Iron Man. That's how upset he was. What about you, Drew?
I already nailed it. Like Sylvester Stallone in any of the Rocky movies. Like some of the later number ones, they get a little campy. But like even in Rocky Balboa, where he's like the first of like the old Rocky, like the "That's how winning is done" speech is really cool. And in Creed, like he's like so broken down and going through cancer. And Michael B. Jordan is incredible in that movie. From Brian's song, James Caan is really good in that. Is Brian Piccolo. And let's see, trying to think.
Did you say Piccolo?
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. I just think it's cool. It's a
No,
name
you
from
didn't- you
Dragon
didn't.
Ball Z.
He never got to see. He never watched
Yeah,
it.
I still haven't seen Brian's song.
Oh no, yeah, that's his last name. No,
It's
he's
like Piccolo.
It's not song.
yes, Brian J. Song. No, but they're scattered all over the place, and Dolph Lundgren as the perfect intimidating villain in the
yeah.
Rocky
Oh,
movies,
my
like
God,
Rocky
yeah.
and Creed.
If he lives, he lives.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren, man. Yeah, I just remember how scary he was,
Skimmy.
and how I thought as a kid that was like every Russian guy probably looked like that.
Oh yeah,
But I guess they're kind of going for that, you know.
Well, it was the Cold War.
Yeah. Cold War bad guy. What about you, Robbie?
My first one I'm going to say is Susan Sarandon from Bull Durham.
All right.
I love her performance.
Is that where her
in
and
the
Tim Robbins met? Because they're married.
They are.
I wonder if they met on the set. You hear about these people meeting on the set.
It might be. I can't off the top of my head think of a movie they were in together before.
That might have been
Or maybe
it.
they did the movie together because they were already together. Maybe they met at a party in Hollywood or something. We don't live there. We don't know what the life is like, right?
If you're listening, Tim, call me.
Yeah, let us know. So I'm going to say that. I'll also say Pat Morita from The Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Right? And this is an amazing performance. From Hoosiers, it's a double tap right there. It's Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper. Both amazing performances. And
Both amazing actors.
Yeah, and maybe not an acting performance, but one of the best performances in sports movies across the board is writer-director Ron Shelton, who did Bull Durham. He did White Men Can't Jump. He did Play It to the Bone. He did Cobb. Who's done more great sports films than this guy, right?
Yeah, he probably has more under his belt than most people.
Yeah, under his belt. He's got more under his belt than Michael Keaton as far as
Wait a
sports
minute.
films go.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were going there.
Anyway, what about you, John?
So I would say Batman Returns. Oh, I'm on Michael Keaton thing again.
Of course you are.
I would say, let's see, my favorite, Robert Redford in The Rookie. Love Robert Redford, just a great actor. A lot of things I think a lot of people were naming in general are just phenomenal actors. Like you said earlier, Dennis Hopper, one of the greats. James Caan, one of the greats. I mean, you guys keep naming actors, but these guys are just far and above, some of the greatest actors ever. So obviously they do a good job in sports films, you would hope. Like, man, he was a great actor, but he sucked as a boxer. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear that. Charlie Sheen is the Wild Thing, man. What an iconic role. And I'm not a big Sheen fan, but you know what? I love me some Wild Thing and some Hot Shots. If we're gonna mention them.
Right.
And then I know you said you weren't a big fan of For Love of the Game. It's not my favorite sports movie. I just brought it up because the Tigers, it's a Tigers movie. But I think Kevin Costner does a really good job.
He does a great job in most baseball films he's in, and he's in like half of them.
He's in a lot. It's in his contract that every other film he does has to be baseball related.
Right? I love how we're taking 3 movies and really kind of like over-exaggerating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 3.
One that I was told that had to be mentioned was Air Bud from Air Bud.
The first one.
Yes, the dog.
No other Air Bud has ever been better than the original Air Bud.
The original Air Bud.
He doesn't hold a candle to Spud McKenzie,
Didn't he
who's
also-
not an athlete.
Didn't he also play baseball?
Dude, he's
He's
in
played
basketball,
everything.
every sport.
He played football,
or
golden
some-
receiver.
Some golden retriever variation.
That was what I was thinking.
Some golden retriever variation.
Of course, these sports movies have some of the greatest performances, but we were talking about why they're so compelling. And a lot of the ideas that we mentioned, I want to talk about real quick. Let's talk about the tropes and the themes and the motifs of a sports movie. Sound good?
Yeah.
Nah.
So, what is there's a lot of things we can talk about, right? Drew, I'll start with you. What is, to you, the most common trope in sports films?
Oh, underdog.
All right.
1,000% underdog.
But you're right.
yeah.
But why do we, and it's in so many of them, right? Why do we care so much? And we mentioned at the beginning of the show that we love sports movies and they're compelling because it's about the underdog. Why is that important to people?
Because the vast majority of us are, when you're a peak athlete, you're like 1% of a 1%. Like, they're so rare to actually to play professional sports. You have way more in common with Rudy Rudiger than, say, like Andrew Luck or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Born and bred for this exact thing.
I think most people are closer to Rudy Giuliani than them.
I don't want to be close to Rudy Giuliani. So
What was the Mark Wahlberg movie? Invincible?
Invincible. Actually,
Invincible.
not
Yeah,
bad.
or-
It's the Philadelphia. It's the Eagles, right?
Yeah,
He gets
yeah,
on the
Eagles.
Eagles team.
And that's the whole idea behind Rocky is the underdog.
Yeah.
Like, this dude
Yeah.
is picked out from all the amateur boxers in Philadelphia because Apollo Creed's opponent had to drop out, right? And so, like, and you think it's because I'm right there with you, man. I think that almost like most people I know, most dudes I know, I will say, will have some story where they legitimately think I could have been a star in said sport.
If I hadn't sprained my
Except-
ankle that one
yeah.
time,
Right?
yeah.
If it wasn't for that coach that hated me, if it wasn't because I was on this crappy team, if it wasn't because I hurt my ankle,
I
yeah, or
got some
anything-
girl pregnant, so I had to drop.
Right.
There's always something. Yeah, they would have been a great
There's
athlete.
every-
Just a Bruce Springsteen.
everybody's an Al Bundy, right? You know, in a way, right? And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why we root for that underdog. I also just think that even those that don't have that connection to sports, they love that because people themselves, like we all individually, feel like we are the underdogs. Nobody feels appreciated. Nobody feels like people completely 100% know what they're capable of and what they're going to do, or that they believe them or anything like that, right?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
people want to feel that they can do anything, and you're literally watching a person accomplish their dreams in these movies,
Yeah.
which is a cool feeling.
And you want to see the average Joe beat the hell out of the Tom Brady. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Dirty.
chill
even
out.
if you like Tom Brady,
No,
the Tom Brady or the Yankees
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything like that,
Cowboys.
right? And that's why I think the Yankees are portrayed as the villains, is because they're known as this like super successful team, even though there have been times when they have not been.
yeah,
No.
It's not a good time to be a Yankees fan in the
or a
80s,
Tigers fan
for instance.
right now.
It's a good time to be the Yankees fan right now. I was just going to say that.
At
Anyway.
this second, yes.
Yeah, but anyway, what's something else, Mike? Let's talk about it. Another trope aside from the underdog. What you got?
I was going to say fish out of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you get, I kind of throw back to what I said earlier. Like you get the coach that come in, the player that comes in,
Now,
the family that moves in.
A lot of the times with the coaches, what I see is the coach that never made it because he was an alcoholic or because he couldn't control his emotions, and then he has to come back, and now he's able to like in a situation like Hoosiers or the Mighty Ducks, right? Where you
Right.
have
Oh,
a
yeah.
coach that's been disgraced, which is coming back to earn his redemption. in a
Right,
way.
and
So-
like I said, it's fish out of water. But he's also, I guess you could call it a redemption movie too.
But a Fish Out of Water is a good one too. Where
Yeah,
we're
Cutting
talking about
Edge.
like Keanu Reeves, for instance, in The Replacements. DB Sweeney in Cutting Edge, was that who
Yeah.
played him? Yeah,
Yeah, it was
So-
DB Sweeney.
Wow, I'm really proud of myself for pulling that one out of my ass.
Not if he was a DB Cooper, completely different guy.
Yeah,
I
right.
was gonna say in Fire and Ice, where the two Will Ferrell and that other dude have
Blades
to,
and Glory.
Blaze of
Blaze of
Glory.
Glory,
Blaze of
yeah.
Glory. With Napoleon Dynamite's his name.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, John? You got a trope or something like that you want to talk about?
I was going to talk about the underdog. Have we talked about that yet?
Yeah, we did.
Good bit.
What do you want
wait
to
a
say
minute.
about it?
So, if he transforms to a dog to a superhero, why can't his costume be form-fitting? I'm talking about underdogs.
Oh,
Why doesn't his costume
that's the
fit?
best. That's the best troll of the night, John.
Why does it? Well, first, yeah, we kind of talked about it. So, and we also talked about, and this goes to the replacements a little bit. The misfits or
Yes.
bad news
Yeah.
bears. So
Yes.
besides the underdog or like you were saying the
Lovable loser.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you get the misfits like, oh, these
Major
guys
League
can never.
Bad News Bears.
Yeah, these guys are a bunch of losers. They never
Mighty
amount
Ducks.
to anything.
replacements,
Oh,
yeah.
now they're at the Super Bowl. Oh my God, no one expected
Yeah,
this.
right. Yeah, okay. Well, I want to get your opinion on this one. What about everything about the underdog and the sports movies that really do that the best? Hoosiers, to me, is the best example of this trope, the big game. That big final game
Yeah.
when it comes down to a last-second victory, which is also replicated in movies like The Karate Kid. A last-second victory.
Mighty
right?
Ducks.
Yeah, right?
Warrior is a good example of that too.
The underdog, but why does it always come up to the big game? Obviously, third act blues, right?
Yeah, you get down there and you got to get them something to fight for. If you're like, these guys are the best, and they're underdogs, and they came to be the best in their division, level 4. They went to the local championship. Nobody wants to watch
Yeah.
that. So
Everybody
you
wants
do
the
want to see
comeback.
them, yeah. Or at least you could do a film where they win the local, and then the next sequel they go to the state champion. The next one they
The
go
Major League.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you can move it up, and it works with Major League.
Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks. Which one did they fight the Russians?
That was 2, wasn't it?
It was 2.
Yeah.
So it goes from to fighting the bad guys again.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that Dolph
What-
Lundgren was on the other team. Isn't he
What-
too old?
You know, one of my comic book projects replicates the story structure in the Mighty Ducks
Yes.
like to a T.
Yes.
Well, one of the things, Rocky is a good example of that too, because
Yeah,
he doesn't win at the end. I mean, but
doesn't.
it's still the big match.
And that's why Rocky is so different from most, you know. And so along with the comeback and the last second victory and all that stuff, another thing is, of course, the training montage. You know,
yeah.
like everybody's got that. Rocky's probably got the best You know, when he's like,
Yeah,
you know, going up the steps and where's he at in Philadelphia? The steps of the what? What is it?
I forget the square or
The
whatever.
art museum out now.
Is it
Oh,
Liberty
this is a-
Square or something like that? I don't know.
They even
Right.
do that in
I think
Punch Out.
it
When
is,
you're
though.
training, you're running behind the. You know what I'm saying? They kind of copy
You're
that
running in New
the
York.
Punch-Out
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Join the Nintendo
Yeah,
Fun Club
training.
today.
Dun,
Little
dun, dun,
little
dun.
Max following the coach. He's running full jumpsuit.
You know, absolutely. You know, and all these tropes exist in film because they exist in sports in real life, and that's why I love sports documentaries.
Yeah, and that's why we can identify with him, you know, because, hey, I could be that guy. And that makes some great documentaries. So there's a tons of great sports documentaries out there. I would, notably, is the ESPN has that 30 for 30, which I thought there was just 30. No, they do 30 every season.
Yeah, they just kept
So
going.
there's 8 million.
Like, no, we're doing 30 seasons, 30,000, dog.
I thought it was going to be like just 30, but they kept
Like,
doing
we're
it
doing
and
30
doing it.
documentaries for our 30th anniversary.
This
That is-
episode,
that
the
is-
guy that sells hot dogs at Wrigley Field.
Right?
Like, we ran out of sports players.
He's
we
got
have
a real
to go.
story.
Yeah. No one can handle a
I-
wiener like him.
I want to know about the guy who sold hot dogs for the longest amount of time at Wrigley. I want to know that, John.
I did read about a guy who did sell at Wrigley, and he was fired because he refused to give people ketchup. He's like, ketchup doesn't go on a hot dog.
And he only gave him gum, but it wasn't Wrigley's.
Oh, that's so weird. And it was ABC gum. It was already chewed.
Yeah. He was like, here's some Trident.
Yeah.
Here's some Bazooka Joes. They
As long
come
as
with a comic
I
strip.
heard it doesn't come with the comic anymore.
It
dude.
doesn't. It
doesn't.
doesn't. I heard it gives you a website to go to
What the
look at a
View the comic
Right.
strip.
God damn it. Tops. Isn't it Tops? I think it's
Yeah,
Tops.
well, Cracker Jacks just give you like an app to download to play a game. Like that's all Cracker
I
Jacks
heard
do
that
anymore.
some people will get an app, and then some people get spiders.
I haven't gotten that
Oh
one.
my god, that's hard. Never eating Cracker Jacks again.
Yeah, there's some great documentaries there. I was going to ask you some of your favorites and ones that stand out in your mind because there are some great ones. One I saw recently, and I'll bring it up in a second, that I loved. So what about documentaries? I'm going to start with Jermike.
Okay.
Documentaries. Any ones, favorite ones of yours that you've seen recently or really love?
Man, the 30 for 30 is pretty good.
There's tons of great ones. And I've watched stuff like athletes I don't even give a shit about. I've watched like, what's his name?
Dude,
Steve Harvey? No, it's not Steve. Matt Harvey.
Yeah,
His kid.
that was the one you watched when I was in the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was great though.
dude. I like the Randy Moss one, and I never gave a shit about Randy Moss.
He's so good.
But his documentary was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the right
And I was like,
documentary.
damn, I understand Randy Moss now.
So we said the 30 for 30. Is there any that stood out? Or
I can't
one that
remember.
you really love?
I can't remember if it was HBO or 30 for 30. You might know. It's the U.
Oh, that's the original 30 for 30. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then one that doesn't get a lot of credit because it involves skateboarding, but it's Dogtown and Lords of Z.
oh yes,
And like Endless Summer stuff.
they
like
did.
those
They did a
obscure-
movie too. They did an actual
Yeah.
movie, like a scripted film.
Yeah, I think Heath Ledger was in
Heath
that
Ledger
one.
was in it. Yeah.
But the documentary is really interesting of how like skateboarding the way it is today is because of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just one of those like, oh wow, I just thought it all started with Tony Hawk, but then it didn't.
Yeah, right.
He definitely helped though bring to the mainstream. You know what I'm
Oh, yeah.
saying? A lot. He was the Michael Jordan of skating.
Of the N64.
Oh, yeah, they had all those damn games on every system.
And did you ever watch the U?
I saw it back in the original days when it first released, but I haven't seen it since.
Okay, good. Just said you being a Cowboys fan, you really need to watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, I got you.
So
They did a good one on it. What's the dude from Oklahoma? Boomer? Well, no, what's his name? God.
This is some just people listening are just fucking
Bad
holding on by
radio.
the.
Let's move on.
Oh, and then quick shout out for Murder Ball,
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Thanks for bringing
yeah.
that up.
The one with the
the wheelchairs
yeah,
playing.
They're good.
yeah. I remember watching that back in the earliest.
It was fucking brutal too,
in the,
man.
in the earliest Netflix days, I watched that shit. Like, I
Yeah.
had the DVD sent to me in the mail.
DVD in the mail. They still have that. I didn't know they
They
did
do.
that.
It's
still.
like DVD.com or something.
Yeah,
like
I'll
that.
try to look something up the other day, and they're like, "We don't have it. We can send it to you." I'm like, "What the fuck?
Yeah. Well,
What?"
They have everything if you just want them to send you a disc. Anyway, let's move on.
Speaking of sending me things in the mail, Drew.
Told you you weren't supposed to talk about that. No, when I think about sports documentaries, like one other than the 30 for 30, which I want to talk about, Hoop Dream stands out a lot
Yes.
Oh yeah,
because I watched it again today. I'd seen it before. It was only planned to be 30 minutes and to be put on like PBS.
Wow.
But they shot so much they ended up having to edit it into a 3-hour movie, and they actually released it.
You know, it's considered by most people like one of the greatest sports films of all time.
Sports film is one of the best documentaries, and here's the thing, it did not get nominated for Best Documentary, and it was so outrageous. Like, I remember, like, looking up at it, it's like, Roger Ebert was furious that it didn't get nominated, and it actually forced the change of how nominations for documentaries got done, because they actually like looked at it and it's like there's like a small percentage that gave zeros to every film except for the ones that they wanted.
Wow.
And it skewed all of the voting in it. But other than Hoop Dreams, which is an incredible like long story of these two kids trying to follow the model of Isaiah Thomas and it not working out for them, and it's very brutal, like showing their life all the way through their journey. The other one that I remember when it came out a year or two ago, it's a 30 for 30. The Two Bills. It was.
Yeah. Were you on that, Robbie? Sorry.
No, it was like every football person, like even tangentially close to football, went insane because it's the story of Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, who coached. Bill Belichick coached under Bill Parcells for the Giants, and then they had a long story where they followed each other around with the Jets and Bill Belichick retired, like scrawled on a napkin, like I resign as head coach of the New York Jets and things like that. But the thing is, like, they do not talk ever in the media anyway. And the fact that they were both able to sit down and talk about their history, and like they had a very not public but very clear breaking off from each other when they were like a father and son type deal. And like they had like their first game together after their big thing, they didn't talk to each other, didn't handshake, didn't see each other. And the fact that they were going to talk and go through their entire history was so nuts to even imagine. And it was incredible because they're two of the best coaches ever. And at the end, like I loved it because I'm a Patriots fan. They were in the Giants locker room and it's like, oh yeah, so many great memories. And they were like, oh, I think they want us to go into like the Jets locker room, and they were both like, "Oh God, no!" It's like, let's end it on a good note. Oh man, it's just one stomp on the Jets.
It's them pouring gasoline.
Yes,
we're leaving a good note, guys. Did I ask you already?
No, you haven't.
What about you? Documentaries that stand out.
There's only one for me. It's Ken Burns' Baseball.
Ken Burns' Baseball.
Ken Burns' Baseball is not only like so good at like if you want to know the history of the game and the history of the MLB, watch that documentary. But if you want to know why baseball is so important, why baseball is the best sport of all time, definitely check it out. I love it because they interview players, they interview writers, and they interview people that were impacted by the game, whether they're writers or whether they're poets, who are writers as well, I guess, and or if they're actors or performers or anything like that. Like, I absolutely love it, and it really like paints an entire picture of the history of America through baseball.
America's pastime, right? Baseball.
Well, it used to be.
I would say it still is.
No, I would say it's social media is now.
I can back Robbie up on that one because I went to the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's pretty much like walking through the Ken Burns documentary.
It's amazing, dude.
Just to get to the Hall of Fame to see everything. So
I try to watch it every year. And I did this year. Yeah. It's a good way to get into the baseball season. What about you, John?
The one that stands out that I watched recently was The Return. And it's about Ford going back to Le Mans. So they built the Ford GT to go back. They did it very quickly, in a matter of months, because they wanted to go back because it's the 50th anniversary when they won Le Mans, because they won Le Mans in the 60s. There's also a great documentary about that as well. And there's that movie coming out that's Ford versus Ferrari that talks about that with Christian Bale and Matt Damon.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, this is totally a John film.
Yeah, and it looks great. And so they did a documentary that actually does follow them as they're building the new Ford GT and when they're going back. And they do, in fact, beat Ferrari again on their anniversary. So it's pretty cool to see them make that car so quickly. And people talk about this car because the Ford GT is a phenomenal car, and it's like $450,000 like the base price, and it goes up from there. And they were talking about the price of this car, and then people are like, oh, it's too overpriced or whatever. But the only reason they're building it is because they have to build so many to race it. They have to, they're in a certain class. Ford does not give a shit about selling that car. They have to build it so they can race it. They just want to go back and race it. And I think that's pretty awesome that they're excited and passionate about going about racing.
we were talking about racing, right? And aside from that brief moment that you were talking about racing, almost everything else that we were talking about has been a baseball film, a football film, a basketball film, maybe a hockey film. There are a lot of other films. We mentioned them briefly, like Cool Runnings, for instance, about bobsledding.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any sports out there that you, and we're running low on time for segment 2, but like, is there anything out there sports-wise that you would like to see utilized more often in film? Mike, let's start with you.
I'm gonna make it quick. I've got 2, curling and disc golf.
You got one of mine, curling. And I have an idea for a disc golf film. It's a documentary that's like set today, but it's filmed as if it's from the 90s, and it's very extreme.
I would watch
and
that.
I want to do that.
I've got one too in my head.
Yeah.
So.
We should collaborate.
Wait, is curling that thing?
it's
Looks like
more
they're
modern.
They're mopping. Is that the one,
Yes.
the ice thing?
And curling's on my list because curling is intense as fuck. I'm not even kidding. Curling is a great sport.
I don't get it.
Well, next Winter Olympics, we're going to be doing some hanging out, my
Okay.
friend. And what about you, Drewski? I almost said Johnski.
Drew Dunsky. No, the one that I think will start to gain more prominence is MMA, mixed martial arts.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
you get Warrior, which like a ton of people liked, but there aren't a ton of MMA movies, and I think that their deal with ESPN now that they're like all of their events are on their streaming service, that it's going to be and they're talking about a lot more a larger platform, that there are going to be more, because it's like boxing, except you can kick people in the head and make them tap.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What about
boxing? Except you can kick people in the head. And
Yeah.
I hope they change their motto to that.
No, I think Joe Rogan has been quoted saying that exact phrase.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
I used to fence, so I'd love to see more fencing in film.
Did you read that comic book Fence?
I didn't.
You should, and
I will check it out.
I actually think that would be a great adaptation to do
Oh, okay.
about some competitive fencing.
Yeah, it's an Olympic sport. You don't see it. I mean, like it's in one of the James Bond movies for 2 seconds. Like it's
Yeah.
featured in stuff, the little pieces. I mean,
It's in some episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation because Picard is a fencer. By
Yeah.
the way,
yeah.
just so you
A
know.
new Picard show is coming out.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I hope we see some fencing.
Yeah, I'm down for that. So yeah, that's why I'd like to see get more representation in film.
For me, like Mike said, curling. That'd be. I think you could make like a Brewfest bench warmers type movie about curling, right? Like a Bad News Bears.
Okay,
Mighty Duck
okay,
of
you got
curling.
me. You got
Like
me.
a
I'll
cool
watch that.
runnings curling.
Yeah.
I would like. Speaking of cool runnings, I'd like to see more Winter Olympics done, on film.
My
Like not just ice skating.
When are they going to make a hockey movie?
Well, not just ice, not just ice skating or hockey, but like
Speed skating.
the luge.
skeleton would be nuts.
What's that one where
Yeah,
they
right.
like
Go
where they,
head
like,
Some
first.
scary shit.
What's that one where they ski and then they shoot shit?
Oh yeah, the biathlon.
Yeah.
biathlon.
Yeah. Why not?
I would watch that.
Let's do
What
that.
was it? Long jump with the long ski jumping.
But the other one is one
Oh,
that
yeah.
the other one is one I have an idea for. I have an idea in my head called Princes of the Universe, and it's about air hockey.
Oh boy.
And I really think that, the title completely comes from that Queen
Is there
song
like
from
air hockey
Highlander.
tournaments?
was that?
There
yes.
are, yeah.
Me and Robbie dove hardcore into this, like
Well, we
for about a day.
Yeah. I used to be really into air hockey, and I'm still pretty fucking good. And Mike can attest to that. And I can
Yeah.
also say that surprisingly to me at the time, because I have a big ego when it comes to air hockey. Mike held his own, but I did whip his ass.
Yeah.
I should mention
Two out
that
of best 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
you know?
but
I should
you know,
mention-
I got one
it
in
was
there.
definitive.
I stumbled upon this arm wrestling documentary about this
yeah.
vegan.
Over the
Yeah.
top.
And it was about a vegan, and it was actually really good. And he was kicking their ass, and they're like, everybody thinks I can't be tough because I'm a vegan. Dude, he was kicking some ass.
I follow some vegan bodybuilders on YouTube, like John Venus, and
Well,
John
they're just
Venus
doing
is
other
gonna kick your
supplements.
ass.
It's not like you can't get protein from other. You know what I'm saying?
You can get protein from beans.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Yeah.
vegan professional
Peanuts.
wrestlers.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know.
But they'll never compare to the greatest arm wrestler of all time,
So we've talked about our favorite sports documentaries.
Brundlefly.
Hey, real quick to interject.
Why does Mike always do this?
It's me.
He's like, the segment's about to end.
Volleyball and Mariah, whatever that book was from Image.
Mara,
Yeah, like
the Brian Wood book. Yeah.
Why haven't we seen anything like
That's
that?
also futuristic volleyball. Actually.
Yeah, but just doing volleyball.
Did they
Super
volleyball
cool.
against
It'll be in
robots?
Top Gun too.
That whole trailer pissed me off. I'm not even kidding. Everything about that trailer pissed me off. The inaccuracy, the ludicrousy, and Tom fucking Cruise. Anyway.
You gonna watch the Mission Impossible movies, my man.
I will. Anyway, we'll be back. We've been talking about our favorite real-life sports documentaries, our teams, our performances, all that stuff. Now we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes. We're going to be asking you, the listeners, what are your favorite sports films? And we're going to reveal our individual top 5 favorite sports films of all times when we get back here on Pop Culture Philosophers.
Sports. Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. We're talking about sports, films, and our favorite athletes in those films. Now we're going to actually, I think Robbie, you reached out to the old social media, right? Ask people some of their favorite sports films.
Oh, you know it. Yeah, I thought you were going to say something else.
I got nothing. I was hoping you would share those with us.
We went on there to the Twitter, and my personal Twitter, at the Rockin' Robbie, but we also asked, most of these answers came from the PCP Army, which is the official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group on Facebook.
I heard the PCP Army is building up a weapons cache to go to Area 51. Is that true?
Yeah, you know we are. And then Loch Ness right after that.
Can we skip to Area 51 and go straight to Nessie? I'm more interested.
First of all, we got Jake N on Twitter saying Warrior, Blood of Heroes, or Best of the Best.
Best of the best.
I love Best of the Best. Jeremy Haybro said A League of Their Own. James D said Long Yard, the OG version. Billy W said Space Jam. Adam L said Slap Shot. Declan said Mighty Ducks, but when I asked him personally today, he said Field of Dreams. No, The Sandlot. But weeks ago, he told us The Mighty Ducks.
He probably had to think about that. I'm like, man, there's so many good ones out there.
Right? Thaddeus House said Sandlot. Paul E. said Rocky. Matt G. said Balls of Fury. Matt H. said Field of Dreams. Ross said Benchwarmers. Brian W. B-Dub said Mystery Alaska. Great film. Dylan said Field of Dreams. Richard said The Natural. Alan said Major League. Jelani said Sandlot. One of my favorite things about this, John, is the variety, the plethora of responses we got. These are all so many different movies, man. And I love that. Liam said Varsity Blues. Hunter said Dodgeball. Justin said Cool Runnings. That's why he's not on the show tonight. Chris W. said The Bad News Bears, the old school version of it. Yeah. Claire seconded Cool Runnings. Wow. We have two Cool Runnings. David Hatch says Death Proof. Okay. All right. Paul D. said Shaolin Soccer. Jake from Comics Academy here on YouTube said the Extremely Goofy movie. Actually counts.
I guess.
In a way. Leslie says
Then
Major
that means
League.
Cars counts.
And Sabrina said League of Their Own. And the best answer we got of the night was from Adam Bryson, our good friend over at Kitten Puke. He said Running Man. And I thought that was the best answer because
it is.
You're right. That's a sports movie. That's awesome. Yeah. That's the best answer all night. Thank you guys for checking us out at the PCP Army, on Twitter at the PCP Show, at the Rockin' Robbie, and of course just on Facebook at Pop Culture Philosophers, on Patreon at patreon.com/PCP, and of course YouTube.com/Pop Culture Philosophers.
And MySpace. Oh wait, no, we're not on MySpace.
No, we're not on there anymore, but we are still on LiveJournal.
Is MySpace still around?
I don't know.
Okay.
Didn't it get hacked? Like all of our pictures got taken by the Russian government or some shit like that.
MySpace.ru. So, okay. I think some great choices there, actually, and I think some of these might show up on our top 5. So we're here to the part of the show.
No, not really. We have way better taste than those schlubs.
There are our part of the show, which Robbie likes to call the meat and potatoes of the show, or the tofu and potatoes if you're a vegetarian.
I'm a pescatarian at this point.
Potatoes and potatoes?
It's the salmon and green beans of the show. Anyway, go on. I don't know what I'm saying.
So we're going to share our top 5. I'm actually going to start with Drew.
Drewski.
And your top 5 in reverse order, the way we always do it. If you can narrow it down to top 5. I think earlier you were messing with me when you said you had 5 honorable mentions. I think just to piss me off.
I could, but I'm not going to.
So if you can narrow it down to top 5, sir.
I'd say 5. I have Warrior. I think a jacked Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. Like that's and Kurt Angle in that movie. I keep forgetting that Kurt Angle plays like the Fedor Emelianenko role. It was like the big Russian baddie foreigner to go against. But that's like probably the best MMA movie. Definitely.
Is that the movie that Tom Hardy did right before like Dark Knight Rises?
I imagine that's why it was in that larger shape.
Yeah, when people were sharing that meme of him as a wrestler or something. Yeah, like all jacked up with tatted up and shit like that. Oh yeah, cool.
He's massive in that movie. No, but 4 I have Creed. I love that movie. I love the soundtrack. I love Michael B. Jordan.
I really feel they missed out that Creed the band didn't do the sound.
All right, get out of here.
It was like perfect marketing opportunity.
No.
What's this life for?
It is a great cast. Michael B. Jordan, I think, is so underrated.
Yeah. Well, now he's because of Black Panther, he's properly rated.
Oh, I was going to say because of Fantastic Four, he's properly.
Well, no. Well, because when I saw who was directing Creed, it was like the same, or who was directing Black Panther, it was the same team that did Creed. I was like, oh, that movie's going to be outstanding. And it was! And that's why, because I saw it was like, it's Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. It's like, oh, it'll win awards. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. 3, I have, let's see, Brian's Song. I think it's the best football movie.
What's his last name? Piccolo?
Brian Piccolo and Gale Sayers. I
just like saying his last name, Piccolo.
Piccolo, digga-doo.
My Led Zeppelin cover band would
now
be
you know
called
why
Piccolo.
DBZ's lasted so long. All right. Wow. I take it that the rest of the room doesn't watch anime.
I'm not a big.
That was a lead balloon.
Anime, but I'm not a big DBZ guy.
Oh wow, you're too old.
No, what? No, DBZ's been around fucking forever.
I mean, I knew DBZ. That's why earlier I was like, Piccolo? Did you say Piccolo?
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think 2, I have.
He's debating it right now.
Between 1 and 2, is that what's going on? Are you down to trying to flip flop them?
I think 2. I still have Raging Bull. It's so damn good.
It's a great film.
Yeah, I'm trying to like diversify my sports, like because if I could just do
it's a struggle.
It like that's the thing. It's like you could do all baseball movies easy. You could do all football, basketball. You could, though. I feel like the top tier basketball movies, there's a clear drop. And that's why at number 1 I have the toppest tiers, and that is Hoop Dreams.
Oh, okay.
That is one of the best movies dealing with the struggle and hoop dreams, like a pipe dream, an entire community and family just rallying around trying to get these 2 kids the NBA. And like education is a huge part about it, and race relations in that, and the fact that these 2 kids drove an hour and a half every day to get to this white suburban school, because this was the school that like produced Isaiah Thomas, the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, and
love Isaiah,
and they both they idolized him, and they were trying to be just like him, like everyone had, because he's from inner city Chicago, like they were, and like watching, it's like, well, one kid, they didn't pay for all of his tuition, so he had to go back to the public school, and his career just never took off again. And the other one, he actually got sponsored by like the lady who was the president of the Encyclopedia Britannica, sponsored him to stay in the private school.
Oh yeah, Jolene Britannica.
Yes, but he was able to stay in school, and he was like a McDonald's. Like, I don't know if it was McDonald's. He was one of the top 100 players in the country. But he got a knee injury, and in the late 80s, early 90s, that's a terrible thing, because they weren't able to repair a knee as well, and then he played on it too early, and it just like he went on to play at Marquette, but did not do anything, didn't make it to the NBA. Like, he eventually got some money out of the movie itself, but the fact that and plus that movie changed so much, because one of the players that like loves that movie and talks about it a lot, especially because he was inner city Chicago and ended up going to Marquette, was Dwayne Wade. And he's talked about it, he's seen it over a dozen times. Like, he watches it all the time because it came out at the time that he was growing up, and learning and having to navigate this sometimes terrible things that can happen in recruitment and everything.
It's a great film, man.
It's a great film. It's a great top 5. When you said basketball and you were saying your number 1, I thought you were going to say semi-pro. I really thought that's where we were going.
Jackie Moon.
I thought he was going basketball.
No.
The Academy Award-winning basketball.
Oh, wow.
What about you, Mikey? Your top 5, if you can narrow it down to top 5.
Well, if we're going to take the Goofy movie, then, Cars has got to be fitted in here somewhere.
Cars
that's going to be in your goddamn top 5?
Have you not seen Cars?
No,
It's an
actually, I
amazing
haven't
movie.
seen it.
Yeah, me neither.
I do like Cars. I've not seen. Isn't it
It had
Owen Wilson?
It had Larry the Cable Guy.
It's got Michael Keaton in it.
Wait a minute. Is Michael Keaton in it?
Michael Keaton's in
How
Cars.
the fuck have I? Okay, I'll go watch it tonight. I didn't know Michael Keaton was in it. This changes
Yes.
everything.
He plays
I'm sorry.
Chick.
I can't even finish this episode. I gotta leave. I didn't know he was in it. Seriously.
Anyway,
He's
Mike,
he's the bad guy.
you were
Michael
legitimate
Keaton
top
can't be
5.
the bad guy, except for Pacific Heights.
I'm going number 5. I'm going with Kingpin.
He's the bad guy
Oh
in
my
Dumbo.
god. I haven't seen Dumbo yet.
Don't.
Oh,
Don't.
I've heard. Yeah. So go by your review. I'm gonna go with no. That and Lion King, I don't plan to see. Believe it or
Man,
not.
I was really hoping Danny DeVito would have been really good in that movie.
He was good in the movie. Michael Keaton was hammy in the movie.
They should do a film together.
But it's not really about sports. Anyway, your top 5, Mike.
Your top 5 Dumbo movies. Go. So number 5 was Dumb. Wait, what the hell was your top 5? What was your number 5?
Kingpin.
God damn it! We got
Woody
sidetracked.
Harrelson.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
can't
my
remember that guy's
God,
name,
Bill
and
Murray.
Bill Murray.
Oh my god, such a great film. Hilarious.
The Fairley Brothers.
Yeah. It is a funny movie. It holds up well. It's still really, really funny. Great cast. Great cast.
My number 4, I'm going to go with Caddyshack.
It's all right.
It's a good golf movie.
Yeah,
Way
great. Talk about great cast. Holy
Way
shit.
better than
It's the best golf movie
Another
out there.
another movie. Bill
Tin
Murray.
Cup's pretty good.
It's like
I hope all your
Caddyshack and Tin
movies-
Cup,
yeah.
right?
I hope all your movies have Bill Murray.
No.
Space Jam.
I could go there.
I was about to say now just Bill Murray movies.
And number 1 is Ghostbusters. Like, wait a minute.
Number 3, I'm going to go Hoosiers.
Nice.
So I had to change it up a
A
little
quintessential movie.
I thought you were going to say Quentin Tarantino.
It was-
film.
it
I'm like,
was-
I don't think
Could you imagine?
Quentin Tarantino's
bit.
Hoosiers.
Well, I had Chariots of Fire on there earlier. I had The Natural on there earlier. I had Sandlot.
Oh shit!
It's
I
like-
said The Rookie earlier, and I meant The Natural. Why did I fucking say The Rookie?
Same thing.
No.
Different film.
The Fan. It's The Fan. That's what
Did I,
I'm
Hoosiers is a
thinking.
did I
great film.
convince you earlier, Mike, that Chariots of Fire was a little overwrought?
No, I think it's a little forgotten.
Okay.
I think a lot of people don't.
People know the music, though.
But they don't know the film, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it needs.
Vangelis.
Yeah,
Vangelis.
pretty much.
Number 2,
The
Deuce.
Number 2, I'm going to go with the Bad News Bears.
Oh, the Bad News
The
Bears.
original-
The
the
original
original.
classic.
a
Great cast.
We're talking about great performances. Walter Matthau.
Brought
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah.
Jackie Earle Haley is a little pain in the ass kid.
Little punk ass kid.
Yeah.
Chatham Tanning's just, I'm not going to go do this. Okay, I guess I will because the cute guy's going to play baseball with you. And I'm a number 1. I'm going to go with The Wrestler.
Oh, it's a
Oh,
great
the wrestler
movie.
you mentioned it earlier. That is a great dude. Yeah, great
I mean,
film.
it's a good look at professional wrestling after
And the hardships of it's
after
just
the
very
the
accurate.
glory.
Yeah. yeah, beautiful shot film. Great. He does. Mickey Rourke does a great job.
Marissa Tomei.
She wasn't in that. That was actually Mickey Rourke did double duty.
Yeah, he did.
He dressed up as her.
He was method
Yeah,
acting.
he's also in all the
Academy
Spider-Man.
Award.
He's in the Spider-Man movies. So anyway, great top
That's a
5.
decent top 5, Mike.
That is a great top 5. And actually, you and I may share some films in our top 5. Believe it or not.
Really?
I was gonna go racing, go a little racing heavy, but then I thought either you or Drew might go a little that way. So I was like, but you went like a lot of
Some of my favorite
combat
films
sports.
are racing films, but if we did a top 10, yes, but top 5.
Well, my number 1 is Days of Thunder.
Cold Trickle.
I don't think it is.
Because I love Tom Cruise.
God.
You were talking so highly of him earlier today.
Yes, I was.
Your top 5, Robbie, if you can narrow it down to top 5.
Yeah, I can do that. I got some honorable mentions.
God damn it. You're within kicking distance, just so you know.
I got 2 honorable mentions. First of all, Over the Top. A movie about the struggle of being a professional arm wrestler when you're trying to maintain visitation rights for your child.
If we go on honorable mentions, I got to throw in the Miracle
Your time has passed, man.
and Kicking and Screaming.
Okay, that's cool. My other honorable mention is Teen Wolf, about a dude who cared so much about his team, he sacrificed himself and became a werewolf.
Is that before or after he went back in time and almost banged his mom?
I also really like Teen Wolf 2 with Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
It's a boxing film.
Anything's good with Jason Bateman.
My number 5 came out in October of 1992. It made $50.7 million. It was written by Stephen Brill and directed by Stephen Herrick. Both of those Stevens spelled their names differently. The movie is Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks.
I love that film, man. Like,
They should name a major league team after that.
They should, and they did. Right? And that shows you the impact of that film.
Yeah.
Does it not, really?
Yeah.
The Anaheim Ducks were the Mighty Ducks. And they shared the same logo there for a while. Not not in the first movie, but
And then there was a cartoon.
Right. It was a great cartoon and then an action figure line.
Yeah.
John. Yeah.
Action figures.
Exactly.
But who has ever, like Tom Hanks, Emilio Estevez is one of those people that everybody loves in Hollywood.
Emilio Estevez.
What a great guy.
He was also just perfect for that role. Those kids were amazing. They were funny. It was great. And it's we were talking about the underdog. We were talking about the underdog and all the sports tropes, which really kind of, I think, were almost defined in movies before, but supremely defined by Hoosiers. I think Mighty Ducks kind of perfected that for...
Oh, yeah, that formula.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Number 4 came out in June 1984, directed by Robert Mark Kamen. No, it was written by him, my bad.
Okay.
It was directed by John G. Avildsen. Who knows who he is, right? The Karate Kid. It made $91 million. I love The Karate Kid. The movie is
Underdog, great cast.
Yes, we're talking about those
great
themes
bad
again.
guy.
Great bad guy. Mr. Miyagi. Oh my goodness! Like I was
Wax
talking
on,
about.
wax off.
I told you Pat did one of my absolute favorite performances in a sports film, and it's because of this film. It's absolutely amazing. And maybe a lot of people don't think of it as a sports film, but it is. It is. Number 3 is the biggest hit on my list. It made $225 million
Holy
back
shit.
in November 1976. It was written by Sylvester Stallone. And it was directed by, holy crap, John G. Avildsen, the guy that directed The Karate Kid. It was Rocky. Did you know that?
I didn't know he was the director.
Me neither. I found that out tonight. The same director did Rocky and The Karate Kid.
That's wild.
That is so
And
fucking
basketball.
wild. Right?
Like, what a diverse...
Talking about the underdog again, right? Rocky is a great film. It's got a great soundtrack. It's a memorable thing. And one of the best things is the big moment. There is no last second victory. He loses, but there's grace in losing. Do you get what I'm saying? There's power in it.
Yeah,
and I love
it's a
that
great film. It's my
And in
favorite
Rocky 2,
boxing
they
film.
race in the wheelchairs.
My second one, number 2, came from 1988 in June from one of my favorite writer-directors of sports films, period, Ron Shelton. It is the $58 million award winner. What? Bull Durham. Bull Durham's amazing. And Ron Shelton was a minor league baseball player, and they said that this is the absolute, players in baseball. They say this is the most accurate film about what it's like to be
Up until Major League 3 came out.
right.
Back to the minors.
But this is what it's like to be a baseball player. Most baseball players have their experience in the minors. And the movie about Kevin Costner did a great job as the aging catcher, and all his role is basically to train the next generation of hot pitchers. And then you got Susan Sarandon. It's such a great movie about baseball, but it's such a great movie about the player's experience, right?
Yeah.
I would argue, though, that it's not the greatest film, the most accurate film about what it's like being a player of a sport. I would argue that is my number 1. It's The Sandlot from 1993 in April. It was written by David Mickey Evans and Robert Gunter, and it was also directed by David Mickey Evans, who directed 2 really weird sequels, of which the third one is about Luke Perry playing one of the original kids from The Sandlot and travels back in time as an adult to his childhood. Did you know
I didn't know that existed.
Why?
Maybe I don't know.
No, and we got to watch The Sandlot 3 now. There's
And then Sandlot 4, The Reckoning.
Well,
He goes back and he murders somebody.
There's been a prequel announced, and they're also doing a series, a TV series, with the original cast.
Called The
Anyway,
Sandier Lot.
The cast of The Sandlot is great. Baseball is my favorite sport, but whether it's about baseball or any other sport, The Sandlot captures what sports mean to kids. what sports are. And most of us here probably started our love of sports as children, right? Well, I did.
I played Little Major League.
Yeah, and
Some people call it Little League.
whether you played Little League or you played, junior, Babe Ruth or Babe Ruth Jr. or high school ball or college or anything like that, everybody played on the Sandlot. Did you do that? We played it. That's something that, to me, that the Sandlot is my childhood, man.
Yeah, get your friends together and play some baseball.
You throw in comic book reading, the Sandlot is my childhood. That's exactly how Robbie lived from 8 to 12 years old. 100%. And I think it's the greatest movie because it captures the spirit of sports better than anything else to me.
Were you like me when you were playing with your friends? You knew if you walked down to the store, it was hopping for me, and you got some Big League Chew that you'd be better at the game.
No, it was corn nuts for me, my friend.
You didn't do the Big League Chew?
No, of course I did. I like the grape ones.
Yeah, I didn't want anything to eat, man. I was playing. I needed because back in the day...
I actually had a thing when I was playing baseball is I would eat a candy bar before I would play. Now, my cousin... Okay, so I played baseball growing up with two of my cousins that were around the same age. We're all the Billups, right? So they called us the Billups brothers, even though I wasn't a brother, right? But we were all pretty good at our game for our age, okay? And they called my buddy, my cousin Jeff, they called him Cheeseburger because he was a little bit more,
Rotund.
Because he was made of cheese.
and he liked eating cheeseburgers, before and after games. I liked eating the candy bars. And our cousin Mike, his brother, my cousin. Anyway, he was the slender, probably the best of us, but me and Jeff could hit the ball pretty fucking far. So
I like to eat a full Thanksgiving meal before I play baseball.
Yeah, right.
Just like a
cranberry sauce and everything.
one that you just can't get off the couch.
They called Jeff.
Run.
They called Jeff Hamburger. They called me Candy Bar, and they called Mike Mo.
I think you're making all this shit up.
I'm not. Why would I make that shit up?
I don't know. Why would you?
You know what was our pregame meals for my almost entire 4 years of football at Athens?
What's that?
Is it a bag of dicks?
Yes. How'd you know? Freshman. Wow. By the way, freshman, sophomore, and senior. It was
such a clean show too. I'm sorry.
It was two McDonald's cheeseburgers because we were across the street from the McDonald's. It's not good. Should not be eating that before athletic competition, especially getting hit in the stomach.
We would just get food at the concession stand beforehand, and I would get a candy bar, and I didn't know anything about sugar and energy or anything like that. But Jeff would always get a fucking goddamn hamburger, and Mike would always get some sunflower seeds or some bullshit like that, right?
But our junior year, the year we actually won the state championship, it was the only year we were sponsored by Bojangles.
Holy shit!
And we got what was essentially the chicken finger dinner, and
nice.
the whole year we won the state championship.
Supremes?
Yeah, the Supremes dinner, and it was the funniest shit in the world because they sent a Bojangles truck with us when we went to Birmingham for the state championship. So our dinner was cold Bojangles.
Every time we won, we'd go to Little Caesars, and that was when you bought a pizza, you get two.
Oh yeah, you didn't have a choice in the matter. You
if we
buy
lost,
two goddamn pizzas.
If we lost, snow cones.
The prepackaged ones, from the truck that drives
no,
by,
at the concession stand.
cones.
At the concession stand, and we would all get suicides, which meant
just all the
every
flavors.
flavor.
Every flavor. Dude, Drew, we did the same thing. We did. We had Subway across the street.
Eat fresh.
That's healthier.
So we
much healthier.
Our high school football was always go to Subway.
Yeah.
Try not to get hit crossing the Bailey Cove.
Not everybody made it. His team shrank. Thank you.
And then
Yeah, right.
we were the same way.
Our linebackers are losing weight.
They just had to cross
crazy.
565 and get some Subway.
We
Y'all
didn't.
need to eat the steak one.
We didn't go to Little Caesars. We went to Mr. Gaddy's.
What the hell is
After
Mr.
a while.
Gaddy's?
Mr. Gaddy's was the shit.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What was it? What kind of food is this?
It was pizza.
Pizza.
It was a pizza
Okay.
buffet.
pizza buffet.
Video games, helium balloons, helium tanks just out there in the open.
Toys, prizes,
You can
arcade.
imagine. Right?
So you can win tickets and get prizes, or you can just play video games.
It was like a Chuck E. Cheese, but for middle schoolers.
And a more upscale, older Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, right. What about you, John? What's your top 5? I'm curious to know.
Number 5, I'll agree with Mike. This is a great film. Bad News Bears. The original, Walter Matthau, Tatum O'Neal, Jackie Earl Haley. I mean, I'm not against the remake, but the original, it's missing something that the original had. I love that film. It's a great film, maybe
The
things in
remake
film.
is good, though.
The remake's not bad.
Billy Bob Thornton does
Yeah.
a great job, and those
Yeah.
kids do a great
Yeah,
job.
there's nothing wrong with the film, but it also didn't seem it doesn't seem like there was any reason to remake it.
My
Like, what
favorite-
the hell was the point?
My favorite remake of Bad News Bears is that Clerks animated series episode where they get
Yes.
Jay because he's in the same grade and he's
Yes.
just beating the shit out of people, out of kids.
And they got the name of the Leonardo's business on the back.
Yes.
It's like escort service. He's like,
Yes.
well, it's 10 cents a letter, so we can only fit escort. We're not paying for escort service.
Real quick on the Bad News Bears, the character of Tanner is great, and it was lacking from Billy Bob. Like they didn't have a good Tanner Boyle, so that's what you needed.
Well, as I said, I think Billy Bob Thornton did a great job, John. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Replacements.
Fuck you, Mike, by the way.
The Replacements with
I'm just kidding. I love Mike.
Keanu
Where's
Reeves,
8 Men Out?
Gene Hackman, Orlando Jones. What's his name? Is it Rice? The guy that was the lizard.
The deaf guy?
Reese Effin, the British
Reese
guy,
Ilfons.
Irish guy.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
He was in the Knight's Tale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Welsh in the
He was
Replacements.
the kicker.
Yeah, in
He was the kicker.
Because he was
He's
a soccer
hilarious.
player. He was like, this
Yeah.
is football?
It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh, and John Farver's in
That's
it.
a great movie.
I forget John Farver's
He
in
sure
there.
is.
He's
great.
the
Yeah.
cop.
Yes, the linebacker, insane man.
Number 3, Caddyshack.
Nice.
I love Caddyshack.
It's all right.
Rodney Dangerfield, obviously Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, and then. But even if you were a little kid
Danny
and never
Noonan.
seen it, you know that goddamn gopher.
So you're telling me that Caddyshack is better than Caddyshack 2? Preposterous.
I actually do like Caddyshack 2, but Caddyshack 2 is obviously a what we call a cash grab in the business.
Yes.
But dude, Caddyshack is so fucking good.
It's
It
a
holds
great
up.
film.
Yeah, it holds up. It's just an enjoyable film.
I'm
to watch.
surprised. I thought you'd have more baseball films.
I thought I had more baseball films, and there's no baseball on my list. That's not true. I'm not finished with the list. Number 2 would be Rudy,
Ooh.
with also with John Farber, and
he's in a
maybe
bunch.
He is
maybe
in that.
maybe Sean Astin's also.
He's also a football player in PCU, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's in a lot more. Now that I go back and look at films from earlier, I'm like, he's in a lot.
He's
of
always
goddamn
the
films.
jock. isn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah.
Um.
The jock or the mobster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
The-
the,
the
or the
only-
sad guy that just got broken
The
up
only
with.
part of
PCU, he was the stoner that wore the shirt at the band.
I thought he was like a football player because he was the powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I just okay.
the only
Thanks, Mike.
maybe I'm misremembering the film,
yeah.
but the toughest part of Rudy is the very tail end when he's leaving the research lab and the demodogs kill him and rip him apart in front of
Yeah. Well,
in front of Winona Ryder.
In
That's
front
in-
of Touchdown Jesus.
that's in the sequel.
Oh, Rudy 2.
Rudy
Stranger
Poo.
Things too.
Yeah, he has to go back in time
Rudy 2 colon
with
Rudy Poo.
with who? Jason Priestley and who was it? Who was in that shitty Sandlot sequel?
Luke Perry.
It was Luke Perry.
He's dead, so we should.
Oh, I'm
you know,
sorry.
Sorry about that.
He was great, by the way.
That does suck that Luke Perry just randomly died like that. That's crazy.
He was pretty young still.
Yeah.
And he was on, I think. He's
What's
in
your
the-
number 1 favorite sports movie?
My number 1 is a baseball movie. It's Major League.
Of course.
I just love Major League. You know, I love baseball. I'm not a big Indians fan, especially since they're like, you know, rivals to the Tigers. But great cast. You know, you got Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, obviously, is Wild Thing. Corbin Burnson. Love Corbin Burnson.
Amazing.
Wesley Snipes
yeah.
is Willie Mays Hayes, right?
He's amazing in that film.
It's great. It's got such a damn good kick. And, of course, we talked about Bob Uecker as the announcer. And he keeps drinking. And it's great. Actually, I even like the second one is pretty good. And the third one's okay. The third one's not bad, though. I worked at the theater at the time when the third one came out. I watched
The third
it like
one's
10
the one with
times.
Omar Epps as Willie Mays Hayes, right?
Yes.
Or is
Wait,
that the second one?
Second one's
It's
the
already-
yeah, the only one I remember being in the second
is the
one.
second one Back to the Minors? Or
No,
is
that's
that
the third one.
Okay.
But I did like the third
Snipes
one.
was only in the first one.
Yeah, he was only in the first. He was too good to come back.
Yeah. Cut the check.
And he was never in any other baseball movies again. Oh, wait.
If y'all want to know the number of my tax account, it's 1-900.
Great cast, great
Major League
film.
Three's got Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst Star Trek captain.
That opening song is fucking terrible, by the way.
It's been a long road.
And it's got Walter
It's actually not a bad
Goggins.
song. It just doesn't work for Star Trek. Anyway, we're sidetracking. And then
That's a great top five.
my number 0 is Michael Keaton.
Nice.
Your honorable mention.
That's
you
a good
traitor.
top 5,
Anything
man.
with
I'm down for the Michael Keaton podcast.
So, Major League, man. I mean, how can you not like the Major League films? 1's good, 2's good. 3's not bad. 3's actually pretty good. It's not as good as 1 and 2, but Even if I'm a baseball fan, they're just fun films. They're enjoyable. And the underdogs again, or misfits, or the team that can't win. You know, they never will make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
They get all those tropes for sure.
What happened today with your list? Like, where did that come from?
It just changed, didn't it?
Yeah, because you're like, I'm debating between 8 Men Out and Hoosiers, like,
And Rocky and Raging Bull.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it was one of those, like you just
Yeah.
almost went a little lighthearted.
I remembered that we were doing favorites and not best.
Right, and it
Yeah.
was just. But I thought
I
the way you talked about 8 Men Out, it just seemed like that was a favorite and
Well,
a best.
that's the moment I decided that we're going to do a baseball movies podcast.
Another one.
And then
yeah.
I can talk about 8 Men Out because
Can I
8
be
Men
on
Out's a great film.
Can
yeah,
I
we
be
could.
on-
Each sports could probably definitely have its own.
Yeah, and
podcast.
we're
Can I be
definitely
on that
gonna-
one this time since I missed the first one?
No.
Maybe.
Well, can I be on the Michael Keaton podcast then?
Yes,
Anyway,
we're
my
invited
idea.
back.
There's some
My
great
idea.
tough eyes from everybody. Sports movies are amazing. I want to know what your favorite sports movies is. Let us know in the comments down below wherever you're listening to this. YouTube, iTunes, wherever the fuck.
We
Let
really
us know.
didn't cover soccer, so I'm interested to hear some soccer
Yeah,
fans.
bend
or-
it like Beckham.
Yeah, or football, if they call it in some weird countries.
Bend it like Beckham. All right, is there another? Anyway.
Challenge soccer. I don't know.
Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
Yeah, we actually mentioned
I wrote
some.
that in at the last minute, but then changed it. back.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. But anyway, I really want to do a final thoughts real quick, Mike. To our listeners, whatever you want to say, your final thoughts about sports movies.
Even if you're not a sports fan and a movie fan, you still need to watch them. They still hold their place in cinema history and storytelling. So that's pretty much
Absolutely.
What I
Thank you for being here. What about you, Drewski?
Like I said, the sports is instant drama, and even the dumb ones can still be fun.
Yeah, the only thing I like better than sports movies is Sports, the album by Huey Lewis and the News.
Great album.
It's a fantastic
I
album.
want a new job.
You should listen to it. And also, you guys need to watch some baseball. And if you don't like watching on TV, go to a game. It's way better in person. Right, John?
Dude, it's so amazing to go to the park and experience that. Bring extra money for food and drinks. They have the best food. The ballpark has the best damn food.
Get some hot dogs.
Yeah, get some hot dogs.
Get some beer.
Get some beer. Get some.
Get some sunflower seeds, some peanuts, some Cracker Jacks, some popcorn.
What's the weird cake thing that's got the powdered sugar on it? Funnel cake.
Weird
I
cake.
forgot, I forgot. The one that's shaped like a funnel. What's that called?
I was going to say,
You
if
just
you're-
go to a fair to get that.
Nah, everything's better at the ballpark.
You're right.
So I'm excited too that we're getting a
Go
new
Trash
team.
Pandas.
Yeah, getting a new team
Yeah.
here. Next episode, make sure to tune in. Michael Keaton episode. No, it's 60s sci-fi.
Michael Keaton's on like a bunch of that, right?
Wait a minute. So we're talking about our favorite movies, but we're also going to be talking about 60s sci-fi television shows. So we're going to branch out
And
a little
maybe
bit.
even some comic books.
Maybe.
Dun,
Too bad
dun,
comics
dun.
weren't created till the 70s. So tune in, all things 60s sci-fi. I think it'll be a cool episode. It's a cool concept, and I think we're going to cover a lot of bases.
Lots of theremin.
Lots of, yes. And Robbie, give me the sign that I need to sign a small hammer.
That was my air theremin.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what that was. Okay, well, I think we're done here, guys.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to get going. My car is running and parked on the top of a steep hill, and it's in neutral, so it's going to have to roll on this hill. But we appreciate you tuning in for sports. So tune in next time on the same sports channel, the same sports time, and we'll be talking about 60 sci-fi.